Good morning, AP biologists. This is Gray here. I am just starting us off on Module 4, cell structure. So you might remember the cell is the smallest unit of all living things. All living things are made of cells. So within the cell, there are different organelles which perform different functions for the cell. Also, it's very important that cells are small, right? Your body is made up of many cells, not one big cell, because you want to have that surface to volume ratio. That makes sense. Just a quick reminder of surface to volume ratio. Remember, if you have a big cell, you have less surface area, so it's going to take longer for things to diffuse inside, versus a small cell, you're going to have more surface area, so more things can get in quickly than in a big cell. So it makes diffusion happen faster versus this like long time that it would happen. So that is the surface area to volume ratio. Remember, you want lots of surface area, not a lot of volume. Looking at, I don't want to do that anymore. So then looking at our do now, we are reviewing the stuff that we learned on Monday or last week for proteins and macromolecules, since they're so important. Like one of the reasons I think I'm so into biology is I like to relate it to myself and relate it to make it a big picture thing. And when I think of macromolecules, I think about like food, which I love food. Like I almost became a dietitian because I love food so much. And I think about everything I'm putting in my body. So I found 4 foods in my house that I really enjoy. And I would like you to now pause the video and go find 4 foods in your house that you really enjoy. So do that now. Run and go get your food. When you come back with your 4 foods that you really like, you want to add them to the table. So, for example, I really like ham. It's what I eat every day for lunch now. And the reason I really like ham is that it has not a lot of fat. It does not have a lot of carbohydrates or sugar, but it does have a lot of proteins. So when I think about this, I think that this ham is made up of amino acids, which are the monomer of proteins. And my body takes those amino acids and it builds muscle, which I use for then the things I enjoy, like climbing. So I always look for things that have a lot of protein so that I build muscle. Now, I don't want things with a lot of fat because fat is stored on your body, on your organs for insulation. It's also stored for long-term energy storage, which I don't necessarily need because I'm not trying to like survive the winter. So when I think about fat, I think about it when it's broken down into those lipids and then stored in the body. So you want to be constantly connecting this to something you understand, and that's going to really help you understand biology. To make this a little bit more clear, you want to check the nutrition label, so it's on the back. And remember that the nutrition label tells you how much fat there is, the total fat, and fat is lipids. So lipids are what make up your membranes and are what help you store energy and what help insulate you. So they are important. So you do need fat. You also need carbohydrates. So this has 1 gram of carbohydrate, which seems to be all sugar because it's 1 gram of sugar. Remember, sugar is usually glucose or galactose or maltose, which are all monomers or monosaccharides for carbohydrates. And then finally, it has protein, which remember the monomer of protein is amino acids. So those are where you find all of those nutrition facts. My other foods that I really enjoy, I really like peanut butter. And so that nutrition label is on the back. One of the differences about peanut butter is, though, that it has more sugars than proteins. One thing I do want to point out is on my favorite granola, which is Bare Naked granola, there is a difference in sugar and carbohydrate. And you're like, wait, if like the monomer of sugar is like, how does this happen? Well, there are different kinds of carbohydrates, remember? Remember that carbohydrates can be in starch or in, they can be glycogen, or it can be chitin or cellulose. Like those are all different kinds of carbohydrates. And like that is captured on here. So the sugar is showing you just like the pure sugar, like just glucose or sucrose or whatever that sugar is. The carbohydrate is likely telling you the starch. So that means that this granola is very starchy, and that would make sense since starch is how is how plants store their energy. They store their energy in starch. So when you eat a plant, you are eating that starch that the plant has stored from photosynthesis. So I like to connect this kind of stuff all the time in my brain to really help me understand what I'm putting in my body and like understand how that all works because I'm curious about it. And then finally, I really love dark chocolate covered raisins. Those are like my favorite. And this is mostly just sugar. So as you can see, it's like 22 grams of sugar. So it's mostly just like pure sucrose on the outside of those delicious raisins. So at this time, can you please find those 4 foods and then pick, type them into the charts with the main macromolecule and the function. So that would be whatever one has the most grams. And then can you please take a picture with you and your food? You can do that by going insert image and then camera. And then you can take a picture with you and your favorite food, just so we can see your face. Looks like I haven't set up my camera, but you probably have. And then finally, to close out the Do Now, please do the organelle Quizlet. One more common thing, remember proteins are never used for energy. That was our biggest mistake on our final. The only things used for energy are carbohydrates and lipids. Proteins are used to do other cell functions, and you learned about them in the last module. Please continue on with the direct instruction and the independent practice, and I will see you next time.